Great. Well, it's a minute past, so I think it's time to start. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this webinar on the latest developments in motorcycle safety. Thank you for joining us. From my point of view, it's great to see a strong interest in this topic, particularly at a time when motorcycling continues to present both opportunities and significant risks within our road safety landscape. Today's session also marks an important milestone, the conclusion of phase 2 of Scotland's prime motorcycle safety project. We'll be hearing more about that shortly. We would like to pay tribute to Professor Stedmon's pioneering work on the prime road markings, which has made a massive contribution to reducing motorcycle casualties, and his influence continues to shape safer road design and rider behaviour today. We have a strong and varied panel this morning, bringing together innovation, research, lived experience, and the voice of the next generation of riders. So let me briefly outline what we'll be covering. First, we'll hear from Tom Duckham of Redspeed International, who will introduce the Sentio Standard, an initiative that takes insights from the racetrack and applies them to everyday riding. And thank you very much to Tom and the Redspeed team for continuing to support Project Edward and to sponsor a series of webinars during the coming months. Our next speaker is PC Nick Thomas from South Wales Police. Nick will focus on tackling antisocial motorcycling, the noise, speed, stunts, illegal riding and wider nuisance that can seriously affect communities and often overlaps with high-risk safety issues. We'll then move to Scotland's Prime project, where we expect to hear from David Mckenzie of Transport Scotland about the outcomes and learning from phase 2, covering work from 2023 to 25. David has pre-recorded his presentation because he's not around today, but he's happy to deal with any questions you may wish to put into the chat. So do make good use of the chat. I'll try and keep my eyes open on what's going on in the chat. Any questions, pop them in there. Following that, we have Heidi Duffy MBE from the National Young Rider Forum, who will share the latest research and initiatives focused on protecting 16 to 24-year-old motorcyclists, particularly those riding for work. And finally, fingers crossed, we'll hear from a very important voice, a 16-year-old rider who's just been doing his compulsory basic training. He's my son Dylan, and I hope he'll bring a fresh and honest 16-year-old perspective and perhaps a few questions for the other members of the panel and for you as well. So we'll aim to leave time for discussion and questions towards the end. Let's begin with innovation, technology and Redspeed International. So Tom, Redspeed's known for its work in enforcement and road safety technology. Today we're focusing on a different dimension, how performance insights from motorsport can influence safer behaviours on public roads. So you'd like to perhaps start with a short personal introduction, your motorcycle career and how Redspeed's mission translates into your work on safety for motorcyclists.
Okay, thank you, James. So I'm Tom Duckham. I'm the CEO here at Redspeed, and we do make red light and speed cameras. In a previous life, I worked for Transport for London local authority. I did it for over 20 years, and all of that was actually in the road safety department or space. And so my heart really is in road safety, and what I'm trying to do with my good team at Kidderminster, which is where we're based, is to move away from just being a technology company into being a road safety company. And we got various initiatives that I've taken from the public sector, from my work in local authorities, into what we do here now at Redspeed. We've got a new section of cameras now that we're developing that use artificial intelligence, and the data that we can gather now is a lot more than just what we use for enforcement. And I want to embrace that into a new project so that we become a road safety company. I don't want to be about just selling boxes. I want to make a difference, if you like, and help make our road network safer. We are targeting motorcycling because in my previous life I was the head of the motorcycle safety unit at at TfL, and we also used to fund BikeSafe, which I see Nick's wearing his BikeSafe shirt there, and it's a fine activity for every motorcycle to undertake, and I thoroughly recommend it. So I've chosen motorcycling as the cohort that we want to try and address the safety of, and because I know something about it. I've also got my phone ringing.
That's all right. Well, I think for anyone new to the concept, perhaps you can explain what Sentio Standard is and how it can bring racing insight together with AI enforcement technology to improve everyday motorcycle safety, perhaps particularly on high risk roads.
Okay, yes, thank you. The Sentio Standard. Well, our cameras are called Sentio, and so in the efforts to give it a name, we've named it after that. I'm an engineer, so I don't have much imagination, and that would seem to be the easiest thing to do. But regardless of that, just to sort of so you understand what was behind the concept of Sentio Standard. In my personal life, I've been a keen motorcyclist for the best part of 50 years. My parents wouldn't allow me to get a motorbike unless I took part in the RAC ACU training that was on offer at the time. I've since done BikeSafe, I've done off-road training, and I've done California Superbike School, all 4 stages of that. And all of those together have really impressed upon me the importance of riding properly and well. And one of the things that out of California Superbike School that really chimed with me was the old willy wig concept. The way you look is where you go. That the bike is generally a lot more capable than the rider, and if you sort of get tucked up into a corner too tight and you look into the ditch, you'll go in the ditch. But if you look around the corner, unless you're doing crazy speed, the bike will take you around that corner. And there's been initiatives over the years that people have done to actually put infrastructure on the road to use that concept, which is really good stuff. In my professional life, as I said before, I was in charge of the motorcycle policy unit, and we did some good work there down the traditional lines, road safety. There was something called ESUM, which was European Safer Urban Motorcycling, where we had good practices from 5 different countries across Europe and ours, and we got together and we discussed what worked and what didn't. We produced a safety action plan in London for urban riding there as well, and there was some good stuff we did down the traditional lines. But are we reaching the right cohort? And I think that's the difficulty. There's so much good work going on at the moment as well, and I'm not trying to replicate that. Because the stuff that Heidi does and the BikeSafe team do and so on and so forth, they're all really good, and there's no point us being another player in that, because they'll do it better than us. What we thought, and going back to what I was doing with California Superbike School, was why don't we, as a speed camera company, sponsor a road racer, a professional road racer, and then use our technology that we gather through our AI systems to identify risks and see how we can get a really good rider to do some media with us, to do some podcasts and the like, and discuss with young riders specifically about the best ways to address the skills on the road. And being a community company based in Kidderminster, there is a local lad who is a professional road racer. He takes part in he does short circuit stuff, but he takes part in the Isle of Man as well. And I've been over the Isle of Man. I go there every year. There's de-restricted roads across the mountain. They're doing speeds at 200 across there. I've legally sleeked into the 3 figures and thinking, Christ, there's people doing twice as fast as me, and I was on the limit of my skill set. So they're definitely a lot better than the average rider. And if we can embrace the skills that they have and get those into the young riders right at the beginning, like I was taught in the RAC ACU, then that'll be in a good place. So Sentio Standard, it's a name of how we can use our data, and we can apply our data to identify dangerous areas of hidden corners, or where crossing white lines and so on and so forth is prevalent, and use use our data to sort of focus local authorities on to address the problems that we identify using our technology.
Sentio Standard draws heavily on professional rider input and data-driven enforcement. How are you using that combination to shape practical guidance, or the resources that riders can apply on their own journeys?
Well, I think through my professional experience, the two cohorts that are particularly at danger are the younger riders. Specifically male riders. Our brains don't develop fully until we're 24, apparently. And then there's also the born again motor, the Bambis, the born again motorbikers who maybe had a bike when they were sort of in their late teens, early 20s, and want to give it another go. Technology's moved on in bikes as well, and so they're getting on bikes these days, which are a lot faster than what they're used to, and so we want to target those two cohorts within motorcycling and see if we can influence the new riders right at the beginning of it. Practically, how we're going to do it, we want to use Martin Morris, our rider. We want to use him to engage with younger riders and do some podcasts. And interestingly, yeah, your Dylan is a good target for the audience that we want, in that we want to get someone like that is happy to share information with him on his experience and learning, and see and follow his journey through the process of getting your test, and how he could learn from engaging with Martin on podcasts and the like to share experiences.
I'm sure he'll be jumping on very shortly, and we'll see what he has to say. We'll break in a moment and move on to meet Nick Thomas from South Wales Police. But before we do, Tom, just let's kind of scan ahead over the next 12 months. What does success look like for Sentio Standard in terms of collaborations, on-road initiatives, and measurable improvements in risk on those high-risk roads?
What does it look like in the next 12 months? Well, the next 12 months are going to be fairly crucial to establishing the Sentio Standard in the road safety space, and I'd like it to be synonymous with what we intend to do. We're working with a few local authorities at the moment about how we can use the Stats 19 data that the police record at every personal injury collision that they attend. Assessing that data, identifying whether or not we can record that. We can record those events happening from our cameras, and help the data we get from our AI cameras on near misses and so on and so forth to inform the actual intervention that a local authority will implement. So we'll be doing that, and we'll also be moving forward with our podcast that I mentioned earlier.
Brilliant. Well, stay with us, Tom. I'm sure you won't go anywhere and we'll be able to come back and pick up a little bit later. But for now, Tom Duckham from Redspeed International, thank you very much indeed. Let's move and meet PC Nick Thomas from South Wales Police. And Nick's here to focus on tackling antisocial motorcycling, the noise and speed and stunts, the illegal riding, and the wider nuisance that can seriously affect communities and often overlaps with high-risk safety issues. Nick, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Just give us a quick introduction to you and your experience and the role that you have.
Well, good morning to you. Good morning to everybody who's online. My name is Nick Thomas. I'm a police officer with South Wales Police. I've been a police officer for 21 years, and for the last 10 years, I've been part of the roads policing unit as a motorcyclist. Outside of work, I've been a motorcyclist for 28 years. I've been one of the lucky ones that's managed to continue all the way through having children and families and things. So I've been continually on the road for those 28 years. I'm the coordinator for BikeSafe for South Wales Police. I'm quite heavily involved in motorcycle safety, and outside I'm an accredited DVSA motorcycle instructor, and I'm an examiner with ROSPA Advanced Motorcycling. So I spend quite a bit of time sitting on bikes, talking about bikes and thinking about bikes. So it's quite heavily involved in all aspects of my life, really.
Thanks. Then tell us, explain how you define antisocial motorcycling in operational terms and why it matters, not just for safety, but for community confidence as well.
Antisocial motorcycling follows the sort of conventional definition of antisocial, where somebody's actions are causing distress, alarm, or intimidation, or where they put somebody at unnecessary risk of harm. The rider's actions are deliberate, reckless, inconsiderate at times, and can often be made up of one or more unlawful acts. It's where somebody shows a disregard for other road users or the local environment. Operationally, we're looking at the ride in itself. So we're not specifically looking at any type of motorcycle, any age range, or the rider's appearance or anything like that. It's the ride in itself and how that affects other people. From a road safety aspect, this kind of riding drastically increases the risk of a collision. It reduces the rider's time to react to hazards. There's more chance of a loss of control if they're doing stunts or anything of that type. And this increases the risk to vulnerable road users, including the rider themselves. Public confidence is influenced by what people see just as much as crime statistics or collision statistics or anything like that. And if the public see an increase in this type of behaviour without an obvious action by the police, and they think that we're unable or unwilling to intervene, this could then sort of decrease public confidence in policing.
Okay, what does a typical targeted operation look like in terms of use of powers, intelligence, and partnership with local authorities or technology providers?
It's easy to see the police as an enforcement tool, but whenever we think about our operations or we try and target a certain area, we do it with the 4 E's. We start with engagement and education, encouragement, and enforcement is that last tool in our toolbox. If we can stop the offences from happening in the first place, that's normally better. All of this is supported by our tremendous comms team here at South Wales Police. We communicate with the riders themselves, and it also shows the public at large that we've seen their concerns, that we're going to be taking action to try and sort of address it. For engagement, my team and I, we attend biker nights, popular bike cafes. We recently attended the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, where we weren't quite as smart as some of the other people there, but we made an effort. And we've also got a team going up to the MotoGP now in August, which is definitely not a jolly. It's definitely something where we can try and engage with the more difficult to engage with group of motorcyclists.
And that's a very good point. How do you do that? Are there any tricks? Because we'd all love to know.
It's all about breaking down those barriers. Yes, we're police officers, but we try to show that we're bikers at heart. If we're keen, we've got a couple of tools we use. We've got some lovely bikes that have been donated by Ducati and BMW to the BikeSafe group. We can take those around and engage with people that look at the nice shiny bikes, and then we can start to talk to them then about road safety. But it really is showing them that we're motorcyclists as well as police officers.
And does that bring tangible benefits for communities and reduce risk on particular roads? Perhaps there's a couple of examples you could talk us through of where something's has worked.
Yeah, so at the moment, the sort of hot topic in our area is the illegal use of EAPCs or electric-assisted pedal cycles, Surons, electric motorcycle scooters, this sort of stuff. So at the moment, we're doing a lot of work on tackling the antisocial use of these sort of motorcycles. It's a massive issue. We've put a lot of comms out about it, about what people can and can't do with these vehicles, and we've included it in what the youth engagement teams do with schools in our area. My team has developed an operation called Operation Utoxida, where we use unmarked motorcycles and other vehicles assisted by drones or MPAS to try and stop and deal with these illegal bikes. As you can imagine, there's massive risk implications to this. So we've linked in with our driving school, officer safety leads, legal services to make sure that we can be robust when dealing with them, but minimise the risk to the riders themselves and the organisation and the officers dealing with it.
We've just heard from Tom about the Sentio Standard. We're shortly going to hear from the update on Project Prime, which is the designing roads and markings at problem locations. So let's think about I suppose from your point of view, how do you put the policing message into that to the riders that might be hard to reach? Performance belongs on the track. How would you go about conveying that message?
So we don't actually have any prime markings in our area at the moment, and I'll be honest, I was a little bit skeptical to start with because I don't really like a binary approach to hazards. If this, then this. It's more of a let's take everything into account. But last year I was lucky to spend some time with Professor Stedmon up at Motorcycle Live. He explained it a little bit better than I've been explained it to before. So it's better then to see it as a tool for educating bikers. So it's giving them an idea that then they can go on and use in other areas of their riding. And as for the Redspeed technology, again, something I haven't dealt with operationally, but prior to this, I've done a bit of reading on it. And it looks like a wonderful tool. Again, it's not just about enforcement, it's about using the data that can be gathered from these artificial intelligence devices to be able to spot things like near misses, patterns of behavior, the sort of rider behavior in certain areas, and then we can target better our approach to these sort of danger spots. As for performance belongs on the track, it's something that comes up again and again on BikeSafe about whether it's better to do something like Rosper IAM or to go into a track day. And each part has its place in road safety. It's important to point out that whereas a track day or something like that can give you the confidence in the abilities of your machine, on a track, there's not going to be a bus coming in the opposite direction or a broken down car or these sorts of things. So they've got their place in road safety, but it's important that we just take the best bits from each part of the teaching and try and get that into the riders and adjust their behaviour.
Right, in 60 seconds, then what key messages are you trying to get across to young riders who may be tempted into antisocial or high-risk behaviours?
With this, we push the first three E's: early engagement, early encouragement, and early education is key. Trying to change the attitudes, because as we all know, a positive attitude can help reduce accident risk. So we want to get into them that having a positive attitude will give you a positive outcome. If you want to go on and be a motorcyclist, if you want to go on and be a car driver, you need to have your license and your life to start with. But at the same time, we need to show them that if they are going to go out and do these things, we will act robustly. They will be stopped, identified, and dealt with for the offences that they commit.
Nick, thank you so much for joining us. PC Nick Thomas from South Wales Police.
Thank you very much.
And Nick can't hang around, but if you have a question for him, pop it into the chat and I'll make sure that it's sent on to him, and I will do my best to ensure an answer is forthcoming for you. So Nick, brilliant. All the best. Have a good day. Stay safe.
Thank you very much. Goodbye, everybody.
Time now to move on to Scotland's Prime project. Prime has been one of the most closely watched motorcycle safety initiatives in recent years, particularly for its focus on road markings designed specifically with motorcyclists in mind. Phase 2 has now concluded, covering the period from 2023 to 2025, and we're keen to understand both the outcomes and the practical implications. And here to help us with that, on a recording, is David Mckenzie from Transport Scotland.
Hello, my name is David Mckenzie from Transport Scotland. I'm delighted to be here to talk to you about Project Prime, our award-winning 6-year project to design, trial and evaluate innovative road markings to influence rider behaviour at challenging bends and to improve safety for motorcyclists. Project Prime has been delivered by a team effort involving expertise in human factor psychology and roads engineering, with myself as the overall project manager on behalf of Transport Scotland. We are grateful for the funding provided by the Road Safety Trust to support our project. This slide briefly summarises the findings from Phase 1 of the trials, which took place between 2020 and 2022 and involved placing discrete cameras at selected sites to monitor riders' speed, lateral position and braking in the bend, behaviours which are linked to safer cornering. These results showed very encouraging behaviour change effects across these identified criteria. The Phase 1 results were previously published in a 3-year summary report on the Transport Scotland website and led to the project receiving the coveted Prince Michael International Road Safety Award, as well as CIHT and Highways Awards in 2023. Phase 2 of Project Prime consisted of 3 further years of research to build on the success of Phase 1 and explore additional research themes that we were not able to address sufficiently in Phase 1 of the trials. In 2023, the theme was untreated roads. In Phase 1 of the trials, sites had been upgraded so as to be optimised for motorcycle riders. But in 2023, we selected a further 6 sites for installation and did not carry out these upgrades. Instead, we checked each site for suitability against a matrix of considerations: surface, lining, signing, etc. This approach led to similarly positive outcomes and was therefore carried forward into 2024 and 2025 research. These findings support the principle that primes are a low-cost intervention. In 2024, the theme was right-hand bends. The research had so far focused more on left-hand bends, as that is where the original collision data set was pointing to. In 2024, we selected a further 6 right-hand bends for the research. In 2025, we investigated alternative gateway designs to explore whether they could bring about any greater speed reductions, something which had seen less of than the other outcomes. Phase 2 also allowed us to explore carryover effects and long-term effects. This slide summarises the Phase 2 results. A further 15,557 bikes were individually coded and over 5,000 lead riders were further analysed. The Phase 2 results are summarised in the table here and paint a picture of continued positive behaviour change across all the criteria analysed. In particular, positive outcomes were observed for riders' lateral position on the approach to and through the bend, 14 of the 18 sites, and the use of the prime gateways at 17 of the 18 sites. The table indicates where statistically significant behaviour change was observed and instances where the data supported a lesser but positive trend in behaviour change. As previously mentioned, we also sought to carry out investigation into carryover effects in 2024 and long-term effects in 2025. In 2024, we investigated what effect primes at one bend had on rider behaviour at subsequent bends, referred to in the documentation as carryover effects. Data was analysed in the same way with cameras deployed at all 3 bends to record and allow the analysis of rider behaviour. Results indicated that there were significant reductions in speed across all 3 bends and positive changes in the subsequent bends in position, shown here in the red circles. While the results are not conclusive and only apply to one site, they provide a valuable insight into potential benefits of primes beyond immediate installation sites. In 2025, we took the opportunity to revisit 5 sites used in previous years of the project to undertake their potential long-term effects, together with 1 additional new site. 3 sites from 2020, 1 from 2022, and 1 from 2023, offering analysis over 2, 3, and 5 years. The results indicate that statistically significant positive changes in position at the final prime road marking were sustained at 4 of the 5 existing sites, 3 of those from the 2020 trials. Riders continued to ride through the gap at all 5 sites. At the apex of the bend, statistically significant sustained effects were observed at 3 of the 5 sites. Sustained reductions in braking were observed at 1 of the sites from 2020. Whilst limited to 5 sites, the data supports the assumption that riders will continue to use primes over the longer term. In 2025, we selected 6 bends, 5 of which had been used previously in the research, to investigate whether a revised design could increase the effects on approach speeds. This design consisted of 5 pairs of gateway markings, in contrast to the established 3 gateways. 2 different designs were trialled, with a 50-50 split across the 6 sites. A tight design, shown on the extreme left of this slide, was used where approach speeds were lower, and an extended design was used where there was a faster, more open approach to the bend. While some changes were observed at 2 sites, this was not significant enough to indicate a benefit over using the original 3 gateway design. As there were no negative effects observed, these sites will remain in situ. This research is a world first, and we believe it is the largest road trial investigation of motorcycle-specific road markings, with prime measures now installed and analysed at 35 sites on the Scottish Trunk Road network. In Phase 2, a further 15,557 motorcycles were manually counted and coded across all the trial sites, a total of 47,770 when combined with the over 32,000 analysed in Phase 1. Motorcycles carrying a passenger represented 10.3% of the total sample size. The largest proportion of motorcycles were classified as being part of a group, accounting for 59.7% of the total sample, further reinforcing the social nature of motorcycling. This would indicate that while motorcycles did not generally carry a passenger, they were likely to be riding with other motorcycles. The evidence further shows that if primes are installed, they can have a positive effect on rider behaviour, which is sustained over time and carried over to subsequent bends. These observations provide further evidence that primes did not have a detrimental effect on rider behaviour. To complement the evidence of positive behaviour change, a recent analysis provides evidence of a significant positive effect on injury collisions involving motorcycles when primes are installed. The analysis involved comparing a 10-year baseline period, which was used to identify trial sites, with an after period commencing on the 1st of August of the year of installation up to the 31st of July 2025. And indicates the following changes to annual average injury collisions involving power two-wheelers. A 61% reduction in injury collisions across all sites, an 86% reduction in injury power two-wheeler collisions across the cluster sites identified for use in the trials, and a 46% reduction in KSI injury power two-wheeler collisions across all trial sites. Project Prime has received interest from authorities across Europe, the UK, and further afield. In December 2024, Transport Scotland published an installation toolkit which summarises the knowledge gained during Phase 1 of the project and is a means by which other authorities can replicate our approach. It provides information on issues like site selection and designs for installation. The toolkit has been updated to reflect the additional findings from Phase 2 of the project. We are aware of a number of Scottish local authorities who are considering the use of primes, and some have already completed installations. The DFT have recently approved a trial of primes in Derbyshire, and primes also featured in the latest DFT road safety strategy, published in January of 2026. The research approach and results have been published in 5 academic journals, confirming that our project has been peer-reviewed at the highest level. A report summarising the results of Phase 2 has also been published on the Transport Scotland website. This short video, produced by Transport Scotland, features a further explanation of the project, along with footage from some of our trial sites.
New motorcycle research combining applied psychology with innovative road markings has been trialled on roads in Scotland with very positive results.
So these were developed even before we actually put markings down the road. We did a lot of work in the background looking at what riders would use. So we got their opinions and feedback on a number of different options before we settled on this design. The idea we came up with was to put together 3 truncated chevron markings with a gap in the middle, so it kind of forms a gateway for motorcyclists to ride through. So we've done 3 years of trials across 22 sites in the West Highlands, and during that time I've analysed and personally counted and coded over 32,000 motorcyclists. From those we've analysed the lead motorcyclists in different groups of riders and for their behaviour. And what we found is that across these sites, in the majority of cases, we found a very strong position effect. We've also found at a number of sites reduced speed, so people are slowing down a bit more than they used to on approach to different bends. And we've also found reductions in braking on the bend, which is a particularly dangerous behaviour for a motorcyclist.
The simplicity of it is absolutely ingenious. It's just incredible how such simple road markings can potentially make such a difference to the safety of motorcyclists. I have seen people who are average motorcyclists when I've been following them and actually going between the markings, which is what it's all about.
I think we've got a great opportunity now that we've got this scientific database established in terms of the research that's been done the last 3 years. What we've got now is the opportunity to carry on that work and roll it out throughout Scotland and the UK and indeed the world. I think anywhere where motorcyclists are approaching demanding bends, primes could be used to help make them safer on the roads.
There is now a substantial body of evidence to show that if primes are installed, riders will use them and continue to use them, that they have a positive effect on rider behaviour, particularly positioning, and they can have a sustained and substantial positive effect on collision rates involving motorcyclists. This has been a quick summary of Project Prime, and I hope that you found it interesting. We are keen to talk to anyone who would like to know more, and my contact details are included on this slide. Thank you.
Let's not waste more time on it. That takes us to our next speaker, who was just very helpful there in getting an understanding of what's gone on. So Heidi Duffy MBE from the National Young Rider Forum. The forum's been doing important work to make a better understanding and reduce risk among 16 to 24-year-olds especially those who ride for work, a group who face unique pressures and exposures.
Yeah, good morning everybody. It's great to see everybody. Thanks ever so much for the opportunity to come and talk to you today. There's a lot happening in the motorcycle world and we're really getting some fantastic momentum. So we want to harness that momentum and look at the emerging problems, which of course is still high number of KSIs and in fact obviously a rise in motorcycle fatalities, which was recently released looking at the 2025 data. So yeah, I'm Heidi Duffy. I'm the facilitator. I'm proud to lead the National Young Rider Forum. It's great to see so many National Young Rider Forum members on the call, but they must get sick of hearing and seeing me, so I apologise for that. So this is all about the Young Riders Matter report. It was a research project that we did funded by the Road Safety Trust and working with our great friends Agilicis. They previously did a research report for us in 2020, which was understanding young riders, because as we sat around the table as road safety professionals, the main thing that we managed to identify is that we didn't know much about young riders or even young people. So we did that first report and we wanted to build upon the results of that report with the Young Riders Matter. And the Young Riders Matter report looked at another 5 years data. So in total, we've analysed 10 years data of young rider crashes, collisions, injuries, etc. And that is the most comprehensive research that's ever been done into that data. But we also wanted obviously to engage with young riders. So we did surveys and we did focus groups. So we spoke to them direct. We asked for their opinions on PPE, on the CBT, etc. And then we looked at segmentation and we also looked at areas of deprivation, because obviously we realise that there's a lot of information that our young riders come from the most deprived areas. So next slide, please, James. Okay, so obviously young riders are a distinct and disproportionately at-risk group. In the time period of this latest report, 22,161 young riders were injured in crashes, and sadly of those, over 6,635 were KSIs and 314 were killed. We did actually find that had been a reduction compared with the 5 years data that we used in the previous project. So we were slightly heartened in that there had been a reduction of about 11% on KSIs and 18% on slights and quite a big reduction on fatalities. However, we can't be complacent and obviously there's still 22,161 young riders who went out on their bike and came a cropper, and obviously it's the families etc. that live with the devastating results in those that were killed. So we found out a lot. Obviously we looked at what bikes they were riding, where they lived and where they crashed. We looked at the main causations and contributory factors with collisions, and obviously junctions came out very high and conflicting with cars in particular. We looked at the ages where they were most likely to be involved in an accident or a crash, I should say, dare I say that word, and obviously what time of the week and etc. when they all happened. Next slide, please. Okay, so we launched the report doing a webinar, and I was so pleased that so many road safety professionals joined us for that in February. And obviously say it's the most comprehensive research project that we've done. It again established that there is no one young rider profile. You can't say that we're going to do an initiative and we're going to find one young rider type. They're not. They're gig riders, they're young people that want to access opportunity, whether that's training, apprenticeships, they want to play sport, they want to go out and meet their friends, and obviously they're gig riders. So there is no one size fits all with our young riders. And obviously they are disproportionately from deprived areas. They crash in urban environments with the lowest speed limits of 30 and 20, familiar with those environments, but obviously coming to grief at T-junctions and conflicts with cars, which is the main road user group that they feature heavily with. We looked at obviously the weekdays and afternoons, and that was consistent with the commuting and delivery use. So obviously we've had, since the pandemic, this growth of gig riders. And we looked at what their awareness of PPE, what they wore, etc., and how they thought the training helped them when they took a CBT. So, and the whole purpose is, if we don't understand who we're talking to and we don't engage and reach them, then we're not going to be able to influence them and reduce casualties in this vulnerable group. So this research changes what we say and how we say it. Next slide, James. Okay, so we've got a lot of projects on at the moment, a lot of projects, and we're doing all different ones, because if you've got different types of riders, then you need to use different types of ways of reaching them. So try ride. We should never forget that actually riding a motorcycle is a very practical thing to do. So we can do AI and we can do social media, but it's actually the rider and the bike learning to ride the bike properly and go out onto the road is the most important thing. So the Try Ride is a National Rider Forum Try Ride, which is where young people who have got a provisional licence and so can legally ride, go along to 22 training centres who are obviously DVSA approved, and they do 2 online learning packages. One is the DVSA Ride Free, which is a 5-module online learning package which covers hazard perception, PPE, highway code, and taking your CBT. And then the other one was the eSitu new hazard perception films that we developed with eSitu and the Road Safety Trust in the View from the Saddle. So there was 2 online learning packages that we encouraged them to do, and then they got the Try Ride, the practical experience, out with Phoenix training centres across the country. We wanted to make sure that we offered riders living in the rural areas and riders living in urban areas the chance to try a motorcycle. And then there was surveys afterwards, and the first phase, which we ran from summer last year until October, we'd evaluated, and we found out that all the ones that had completed it, that did a survey, etc., said they really benefited from having raised awareness and knowledge of highway code, hazard perception, etc. So we're just going to do the phase 2, and that was launched in March, and it's continuing at the moment. And we've already had around 50-60 riders go through that, and again, they're showing the benefits of having this increased online learning before they actually get onto the bike. Partnership campaigns, obviously we work with BikeSafe, we're working with a number of different organisations at the moment, and also we had National Riders Forum Day, which was June the 9th. That was in support of the NPCC motorcycle campaign, and we had various events going across the country, and also a webinar which we did on June the 30th directly to young riders. And we've just completed the World Cup infographics, and we've had really good results of those. With the infographics, we concentrated on impairment, so impaired riding through drink, through drugs, and the morning after effect, with obviously England playing at silly o'clock. And they're quite respectable, bearing in mind that it was there's a lot of road safety messaging out there at the moment. Because of the World Cup, we had 81,000 views on those infographics, and we had campaign pages on the new Rider Hub, so we could signpost riders to the hub so they can get further information. So there was just an example of there. You can see one of the infographics on the left hand side, working with BikeSafe and doing and promoting tyre safety and ACT, and obviously celebrating young riders on Tuesday the 9th of June. Although the weather didn't help us, it's hard to imagine, but it actually threw it down all day, so a lot of the outside events had to be cancelled, but, or should I say, postponed. Next slide, please. Okay, so obviously what we're trying to do, we occupy the education, research and early intervention space in road safety. This is positioning for our strength. We bring the rider's voice and the casualty data and turn them into practical programs. It's all about, for us, about reaching, engaging with young riders and supporting them rather than finger wagging and telling them what they're really rubbish at. We really want to make sure that they appreciate that this is their first motorised journey and it's part of a long time of being a motorised user, and we want to make sure that they get the right help and guidance from all the wonderful organisations that we work with. So Primes, obviously, we've talked about today. We worked with Professor Stedmon, and we're so sad to suffer his loss, but we hope that his legacy will be the rollout of Primes and how that can reduce motorcycle casualties. And obviously, A View from the Saddle, we did the hazard perception films. We're now turning that into a resource. If we teach our children to count and to read from reception, we really should be teaching them about road safety, and a big part of that is actually understanding what hazards are, how to deal with them, how to spot them, and that should be really an important part of their learning through the years, so that when they're a pedal cyclist or a pedestrian or a motorcyclist, they can identify hazards and hopefully can do something about them before they become a statistic. Obviously, we talked with Tom today about the Sentio Standard. That was something that we did with Shiny Side Up and John Reynolds years ago. And we pointed out that the skill that those riders have around the racetrack is fantastic. But what they also have is no street furniture. They normally have cushions or straw bales. And they also have people like Razadar, who is a fantastic ED consultant who follows and is stationed at the racetracks. So it's pointing out that to raise your skill as a rider is something that you should aim to do, but also realise that all the safety at the track, unfortunately, is not at the side of the road. Next slide, please. Okay, so yeah, what can you do to help young riders? Well, join us. National Rider Forum welcomes new members. Together we represent young riders with a stronger voice and achieve more. We're looking at new projects to co-create. It's really important that our riders tell us how they can be helped the most, so we're doing that. We've got all the recommendations from the Young Riders Matter research, and we've got new projects that we're working on at the moment. And the Young Riders Matter report is a free resource. It's available on our website. You're very welcome to have a read, download it, and obviously please promote the Tri-Ride scheme locally. So it's 22 DVSA riding centres across the UK. So anything you can do to put riders and give them that first step of learning to how to ride a bike with the increased awareness, that would be fantastic. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you for listening. I'm going to close now and thank all the people that are on the call, hopefully represented on there. They're our National Rider Forum members, and we thank them for the support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Heidi. But stay there, because I'm very pleased that we do have a young rider with us, but unfortunately we can't connect him to our Teams webinar using the usual process. But if you can see me, you should be able to see Dylan.
Hi, Dylan. You're just finding out what it's like to have a dad in road safety. It's really hard. Don't worry, I have two sons and they struggle with it as well. But thank you so much for joining us today. It's a fantastic opportunity for us to talk to you as a new rider that's just taken their CBT. So welcome. Don't worry about if you can't answer any of these questions. I would say your dad's written them, so don't blame me if they're a bit tricky, because you know what he's like. Okay, so thinking back over the day when you did your CBT, which parts of your CBT did you enjoy the most, and what felt hardest or most frustrating for you?
So I'd say definitely getting out on the road for the last couple hours was the most enjoyable, because you're actually being able to put what you've done into practice on real life situations. But it was frustrating maybe the first couple hours where things were just going very slowly and nothing was really happening. We're kind of waiting for everyone else to catch up and things, so it's quite frustrating, a bit annoying, but all right.
Yeah, no, I really get that. I mean, the whole object is get out onto the road, and that is the best bit. But it's interesting to hear that a lot of training that perhaps we offer, it is a bit slow and a bit clunky, and to pick up that frustration that you felt, because obviously, you know, you got on really with it really quickly, and you wanted to get out and use the bike on the road. So good one. So how well did you feel the training prepared you for the you know, the busy roads, the real world traffic, like busy junctions, roundabouts, or dealing with other road users?
I think it was all right. It was pretty good. I think maybe they could have a little bit more on like roundabouts and things, but I think it was okay to a certain extent. Yeah.
Right, brilliant. Yeah, I mean, they've got to take you to a lot of different types of road conditions, haven't they? Junctions and all the rest of it. So, but that's good to hear. So what did you notice about the way the instructor taught and supported you? Was there anything that they did that really helped, or anything that they did that didn't really work?
Well, I'd say he took a long time explaining everything, and kind of over-explained some things, I'd definitely say, which was not helpful. It kind of did the opposite, if anything, but yeah, just taking like way too long on little tasks, which ended up not helping in a way. But most things were okay for that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I can see that again, and that leads on from your first comment that obviously you're very quick on the uptake. You were able to get the information and adapt it to what you needed. But obviously, like most of us, including me, we explain too much and talk too much. So I understand you've already done 2 CBT sessions, and you've got a third one coming up. What do you feel you've learned so far, and what are you hoping to get out of the next session?
I'm hoping for the third session just to completely finish it, and I think I've learned everything there is to know, to be honest.
So it's just practice makes perfect then, is that right?
Time to get out there.
Brilliant. Okay. Now, obviously, how did you feel when you were told you needed a bit of an extra CBT session? Did it knock your confidence, or do you see it as extra time to get really comfortable on the moped?
I wouldn't say, I don't think it really affected my confidence, but more just got a bit frustrating and a bit kind of, you know, I've got to do all this again. So it's just a little more frustrating, if anything, but I guess, you know, it gives me more time to get out there. So it's not a terrible thing.
I tell you what, Heidi, I'm just going to see if Tom Duckham would like to just join us and has
no worries.
Anything, questions or comments that he might want to share with young Dylan. Are you there, Tom?
I am here. Yes, I've had to change device because my laptop's packed up, so I'm on my phone now. A bit like you there, Dylan.
This is
phone to phone. No, it's really interesting. Yeah. So, the CBT was a bit alien to me from when I took my test. So, are you mic'd up to the rider?
Yeah, so you've got like one earpiece to the instructor, and then you can't speak back, but he can speak to you.
Oh, right. Well, that might be a good thing. Was that distracting at all? I mean, what sort of information is given to you on that?
Like, right, Dylan, we're going to turn left at this junction, and then he'll repeat just in case I didn't hear anything.
No, okay.
So, it all went pretty well, and just like we're going to take the second exit at the roundabout, stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's fine.
And what about your test? When's that? Have you tried to apply for it? Because I've got my young lad. He's not as young as you, but he's trying to get his test at the moment, and there seems to be a bit of difficulty with that.
Yeah, it's pretty easy for us. We just booked it one day, and it was, you know, available. I think you've got to do it a couple of weeks in advance, but it's okay.
Yeah, this is CBT, Tom. So it's yeah. So he won't. So it's not his full motorcycle test.
No, but it's just trying to book the test, isn't it? But anyway, that's a logistical thing, and not for this discussion. You missed the opening of what we do here at Redspeed. We sponsor a motorcycle racer. I'm wondering if you'd be interested to meet him and discuss experiences on that, and see if he can give you any tips on that you haven't picked up through the CBT.
Yeah.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but if we, we'll take it offline and arrange it through James if we can. Might be a bit of fun.
Thank you very much, Tom. And
Thanks, Dylan.
Anything that Auntie Heidi might want to add and just conclude?
Have a look at the new Rider Hub. It's got everything on there. We very much would appreciate if you've got any extra things that you'd like to see on there. We're just about to launch a new section on fraudulent PPE coming into the country, or ones that's not up to standard. And we're also working with mental health motorbike and doing a big section on mental health, because your attitude and behaviour when you're out there obviously is really important, and mental health is a big subject for us, and certainly for young people. So thanks ever so much for putting yourself on the spot today, Dylan, and hope your next session with CBT goes well, and enjoy your riding.
Thanks, Dill. All right, take care. Bye. Thank you. Right, look, we've got 5 minutes to wrap up. Tom, what do you want to take from what you've heard? We heard from Nick Thomas. We heard a little bit from David Mckenzie, but what are some key things from your point of view to take away?
The key thing is for me to watch that prime road markings thing, because I didn't capture didn't see any of the visuals, but certainly from what I heard from the narrative, it's really interesting, and I really think that's excellent work. It seems like it's in line with Willy Week that happened a couple of decades ago, and whether or not we can help with that in the next stages, or even learn from what they've done, and how we can deploy our technology to help gather the data, because it's all about getting the data to understand what the issues are.
Heidi, any kind of thoughts on what experience have you had in trying to reach the unreachable or the hard to reach? And can you?
Yeah, I sent you those couple of photographs of the gig riders that we're working with at the moment. So we're working with police forces, so obviously at the front line, unfortunately, of dealing with the illegal e-bikes, as Nick told us, from South Wales, and e-scooters. And we've been doing a project working with the gig riders, which was based on the Scorsa report that Caitlin, who's a National Rider Forum member, obviously worked on. And we've been distributing these vests out with the National Rider Forum flyer, with a QR code that goes straight to the Rider Hub, and some of the research report from Caitlin at Scorsa has actually gone on there, and so there's some advice on there to gig riders about how to try to keep themselves safe when they're out there delivering. Generally, James, I would say that the National Road Safety Strategy obviously included the consultation. We're looking towards the DVSA to introduce a mandatory theory test for our young riders, and we're excited about that hopefully happening sooner rather than later. And also we've been given the targets that the clock is ticking, James. We're 6 months into reducing motorcycle casualties, and I would ask anybody on this call to have a look at what they're currently doing for young motorcyclists aged 16 to 24, and see whether they can improve their education, engagement, enforcement, whatever organisation they're from, and put those riders at the forefront, and see whether together with the young riders we can reduce those casualties significantly, and not wait for the end of the National Road Safety Strategy target time. The clock is ticking now. We must start the work now.
Thank you, Heidi. Last word to Tom from Redspeed. We have talked about the answer could partly lie in technology, but just touch on that the answer might also be in the museum. That's something that you're quite keen to remind us of. So just tell us what you mean and why. And I guess eSum is part of that.
But it is. It's the answer is in the museum, because there's been a lot of work that has been done previously, and I love the work that Heidi's doing also with the young riders. I think that's a really good step in the right direction. But I just think it's we can take what's in the museum, we can see what else we can do now with modern technology and so on and so forth. But there's not one thing that is going to solve it. There's no one silver bullet. We've all got to work together on this, and And it was really interesting to hear from Nick and from Heidi as to what they do. And if we can collaborate in a really positive way, I think that's the way forward to make the effect that we're striving to achieve.
Thank you very much, Tom, and thank you to Heidi. I will be making arrangements to bring Dylan to Kidderminster on a day to meet to suit Martin. So yeah. Quick few reflections from me. I think the discussion has highlighted the importance of a genuinely integrated approach, combining engineering, technology, education, encouragement, and lived experience. And we've seen how innovation such as Sentio Standard can influence behaviour, how targeted infrastructure such as prime markings can reduce risk, and how critical it is to understand the needs of young riders, particularly those exposed through work. And importantly, we've heard direct from a new rider via his father's grubby hands holding the phone. Apologies, but necessity is the mother of invention, and that's a perspective we should continue, that should continue to inform everything we do. So thank you to our speakers for their contributions, and to you for joining us today. We'll be sharing the usual follow-up information and resources after the session. There will be further sessions later in the year. Meanwhile, have a safe day. Thank you again for your continued commitment to improving motorcycle safety. So from me, James Luckhurst, and the Project Edward team, thank you for joining us, and goodbye. Be safe, be cool, have a good weekend.